Do you feel that no matter how much you try, how hard you try, you just cannot please your spouse, your children, your parents? Whatever you do, you give your best shot, but it's just never good enough for them. If you feel that way, this video is for you. When couples come to me with their problems, few of the very common things that we hear is that I don't feel like he loves me anymore. She doesn't care about me. It's all about themselves. It's all about herself or himself. And we hear this all the time. It doesn't matter the best shot that you give. It doesn't matter what you do. You take out the garbage, you cook for them, you tell them how much you love them. You do everything possible to please them, but it just doesn't seem to work. Well, imagine this. You travel up to Spain and you speak to a person who speaks Spanish in Japanese. So you start speaking in Japanese, trying to communicate a matter to them. But the person who is listening to this will not understand. Why? Obviously, because they're not speaking your language. You're speaking in Japanese and they only understand Spanish. So you try to speak, you try to communicate this matter to them. But how long or how far will you go before you both give up? Well, not very far, right? Because both of you are not understanding what each other is saying. In order for you to understand, you either need to speak, the other person need to speak your language, or you need to speak their language. Unfortunately, this is what happens in many relationships. We just don't understand the language of each other. And this is called the 5 love languages. It is a theory and a study written by Dr. Gary Chapman in his book, The 5 Love Languages. And it is a beautiful theory because it changed my life and it's changed a lot of people who I've shared this with. So I'm going to share this 5 love languages with you. So the first love language is word affirmation. A person whose love language is word affirmation uses words to affirm the other. So encouraging words, appreciating words, they all go a long way in their life. If you use negative words, that also impacts them very negatively. So saying things like, thank you for doing this for me, thank you for taking out the garbage, I love you, you're so beautiful. Those kind of words really makes a huge impact on them. And insults, rejecting words also have a very negative impact on them. So if you have a spouse whose love language is word affirmation, use your words positively. Okay, so the second love language is act of service. For them, action speaks louder than words. Literally. Now, taking out the garbage, cooking for them, anything that you do to help them relieve their pressure or helping them with their responsibilities is what matters to them. This is why it doesn't matter how much you tell them you love them. It doesn't matter you tell them you know thank you and a lot of encouraging words. It doesn't matter what you say to them. They'll just be thinking, well, if you truly love me, you would help me change my child's nappy, or take out the garbage, or sweep the floor, or wash the dishes or something. Why? Because for them, action speaks louder than words. If you don't help them out around the house or with their responsibilities, to them, you don't love them. The third love language is gifts. Now, everybody loves receiving gifts. Who doesn't? I love receiving gifts. But someone whose love language is gifts feels loved when they are given something or a gift with a sentimental value. To them, it's not about how expensive it is, but it's about the emotional connection to that particular gift, or how much thought. So to them, it's all about the thought. How much thought have you actually put in to that gift? That's what matters to them. And they also express their love by giving. They might just cook. When they come over to your house, they might just cook your favorite dish or something that you love. They always love to give, and they receive love by receiving gifts as well. Now, the fourth love language is quality time. Now, the person whose love language is quality time expects you to spend quality time with them. Now, it's not just about spending time. It has to be undivided attention. So talking about their interests, talking about their needs, their day, how was the day, and just sitting there and just having a deep conversation with them means a lot to them. You not making an effort to speak to them about their days or their interest or their needs just shows to them that you don't love them enough. So it's not about just spending time. It has to be your undivided attention on them. And that is the fourth love language. Now, the last love language is physical touch. Now, physical touch is not always about sex and bed. It's about small pats on the back. It's about hugs. It's about holding hands. It's about public affection. That all goes a long way. Basically, they need to know that you are physically and emotionally present with them. And if you're not, say if they're down and you're not there, not just emotionally, but physically, if you're not there physically, it impacts them. It has a huge impact in their life. Now, of course, an intimate sexual relationship is also important. If you don't have that intimacy in all of this, it counts for nothing. So for them, physical presence, your emotional presence, physical touch goes a long way. Dr. Gary Chapman points out in his book, The 5 Love Languages, that we all grow up learning one language taught by our parents. This becomes our native language. This becomes our primary language. But as we grow older, we tend to learn other languages depending on the environment, depending on the country that we live in, depending on the people that we deal with. We tend to learn other languages, and this becomes our secondary language. So we can communicate not just with our family but people around us. That becomes our secondary language. Now, with all the 5 love languages, you may be able to relate to other love languages as well. But remember, there will always be one primary language that you give and receive love with. That is your primary love language. Everything else becomes secondary. My dear brothers and sisters, we all crave for love. Love is what we all want. And it is not easy to love, especially when you're hurt and when you're broken and when you're rejected and when you're being cheated on. It's just not easy to love. But I just want to remind you of what God tells us in John 15:13. He says, there is no greater love than laying down your life for your friend. It's not easy, and I know that, but you and I are called and chosen to be that vessel where love is overflowing from us. And that is why you and I, who are believers, who are Christians, who knows what God has done for us, the Bible tells us that He died for us while we were sinners. He loved us while we were sinners. He asked us only one thing, to love unconditionally. It's a risk of being rejected, risk of being not accepted. There's a lot of risk involved in unconditional love. But let me remind you one thing. God, who sees your heart, will ensure, will make sure, and promises you that when you love unconditionally, He who sees your heart will make sure that He fills your love tank and it overflows. So I pray that all of you who are listening to this receives a fearless courage to love unconditionally, no matter what the situation is, no matter what the circumstances. So God bless you all. And if you like this video, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and please share with others. God bless you all.